that got their head knocked off, but let a DB one time get cracked on a run play. Oh, let's praise the wide receiver. But that's what happens when big dudes want to see little dudes get pancaked. Where was your tweet here, though, Boog? What would you say here, though, Boog? Watch the chip. Boom.
Well, I'm just going to repeat what he said. That was BTA, and I think we all understand what BTA means. And hopefully he has his head on the swivel going forward.
Hey, when you speaking of BTA, it looks like Abdul Carter got a little bit of that. But listen, I have Booger and Louis Riddick. It's a perfect day to get defensive here on NFL Live. And we're going to focus on some of the second-year quarterbacks who could benefit most from having a strong defense. And let's start in Minnesota. The Vikings defense under Brian Flores was one of the best in the NFL last season. They allowed the 5th fewest points per game and had the 2nd most efficient defense in all of the NFL. They also ranked top 5 in opponent total QBR and rush yards. Boog, do you think this defense could be good enough, especially early on, to carry the load for J.J. McCarthy?
No doubt, RC, and I think you have to look at the additions they made, especially on the defensive side of the football. Look on the interior, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen, 2 guys who have been stalwarts from an interior standpoint. I think they'll be able to plug up the middle and get some pressure. Then on the back end, can you cover people? They get Rodgers over from Philadelphia, and they're going to try the reclamation project with Jeff Okudah. So can you stop the run? Can you rush? And can you cover? And I didn't even talk about Dallas Turner or Van Ginkel. And you couple all of that with the scheme that Brian Flores has, I think this is something to deal with, because we know that B-flow is going to make your quarterback uncomfortable. They're going to make your defense, make your offensive line try to figure out which guys are coming and at what time they're coming. I think this defense is going to be a lot better than they were last year, this season.
Well, you know, the big thing about this defense, too, was we saw teams kind of understand where they were going to bring the blitz from, how to attack them. You know, you definitely saw that down the stretch, the Detroit Lions, in the playoffs, the Los Angeles Rams. What new wrinkles does Brian Flores have, especially early on in the season, to get some of these players to make plays and help J.J. McCarthy acclimate to being the new starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings? Now we got to head to New England, where the Patriots made huge moves on the defensive side of the ball that hopefully can take some of the pressure off of Drake May. The Patriots improved all facets of their defense. They signed Super Bowl champion Milton Williams and gave him $63 million guaranteed, the 3rd amongst defensive tackles in all of the NFL. They also added cornerback Carlton Davis and linebackers Harold Landry and Robert Spillane. Lewis, they have all these new additions on the defensive side of the ball. Are they going to be good enough to take a second-year quarterback like Drake May to the playoffs?
Look, I think there's no question, Ryan, they'll lean into this defense, especially it's the new formulation here with all these new players. And if there's anyone that you trust to be able to get all these guys to play in concert and in unison, it's Mike Vrabel. Look, these guys are studs up front now. Milton Williams, we saw what he did in the Super Bowl. We saw how he wrecked the interior of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. You see at the linebacker position, Robert Spillane is one of those guys who's at the command and control center who will lock things down with the way he likes to play. Harold Landry, one of the best pass rushers, one of the best pure pass rushers in the NFL. Carlton Davis comes in, and he's going to be paired with Christian Gonzalez, who is arguably one of the best young corners in the entire National Football League. This unit, although it has a lot of new moving pieces at some critical spots, this is the new age of the NFL. There's going to be a lot of turnover, but again, if there's a guy who's going to be able to get all of this moving in the right direction and playing, as one, it's going to be Mike Vrabel. And Drake May, hey, look, they did some work on the offensive side of the ball, too. It's not like they invested all their resources in the defensive side. This is a team that's going to surprise some people, man. It really is, because they are very, very well coached. They did a great job as far as the personnel additions, and I expect them to make some noise as far as maybe here in November and December. Are they knocking on the door for a wild card berth? We'll see. Time will tell, but I think they're going to be there. They're going to be in the conversation.
Lewis, you know what's crazy? We often focus on the offensive rookie of the year, right, Jaden Daniels, and talk about how the Washington Commanders need to build around him. But it seems like the New England Patriots have figured out a way to build around Drake May. You got stronger on defense. You add guys like Mac Hollins, Stephon Diggs to the offensive side of the ball. You draft Henderson early. This is a defense that's going to play well for Mike Vrabel, but I think this offense is going to do great things, especially thinking having a stalwart like Will Campbell at the left tackle position that they drafted top 5 in this year's draft. Now, one of my favorite teams in all of the NFL right now is the Denver Broncos. It is because of Vance Joseph and that defense. The Denver Broncos have a defense that was great last year, and they may be even better this year. They ranked second in yards per play allowed and efficiency. Plus, they gave up the third fewest points in the NFL. The offseason, they added 49ers Talanoa Hufanga and also linebacker Drake Greenlaw. They also used their first-round pick on Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron. Boog, what makes this defense so dang good and difficult to play?
You know, the anatomy of a great defense, to me, is kind of simple. Like, you have to have some individuals that can win their one-on-one matchups. And sometimes when they can dominate their one-on-one matchup so much so that you can focus the attention elsewhere. They have that. When you talk about Pat Surtain and Nick Bonito, a guy that can lock you down one-on-one and a guy that can rush the passer. And then from a scheme standpoint, we know what Vance Joseph can do. But I'm going to take it somewhere else. When you want to play great defense, you got to have a couple guys that really ain't rap tight. A couple guys that's going to come in there and say some things and do some things, and you may never know what's going to come out of their mouth. And they got a couple of those in Hufanga and Drake Greenlaw. Those guys are not rap tight. They are absolute football fools when it comes to the field.
Yeah.
And if you think about the great defenses that we've all been on, think about that guy you had that maybe he didn't have every screw screwed in tight, but he made the defense great.
Yeah.
You have to have all those things to go along with your stars and your role players, and I believe that the Denver Broncos have that.
Well, listen, Talanoa Hufanga trains with Troy Polamalu, and though he was quiet, he certainly wasn't rap tight. And to be able to make some of those plays you can't be, to sacrifice your body the way we've watched Drake Greenlaw sacrifice his body, the way we saw Talanoa Hufanga do the same thing in San Francisco, added to the skill of guys like Patrick Surtain. You sign Allen up front to an extension, and even on the other side, somebody like Riley Moss with Jahdae Barron able to move around and play different positions. Vance Joseph has so many different chess pieces to now take his defense up to another level, to add to Bo Nix, another second-year quarterback who seems to be on the rise. Lewis, when you look at this defense, what are some of your thoughts on how Vance Joseph can take advantage of those new pieces?
Well, I mean, they're deep, right? I mean, they've got guys who are very much so interchangeable that he can move around, in particular in the secondary. Just think of the body types that he has in the secondary. In a passing league where games are won and lost on third down, games are won and lost in 2-minute situations, end of half, end of game, he's got guys who are really match-up dudes who then he can wind up saying, hey, look, I'm going to get creative with rush packages. I'm going to turn Nick Bonito loose, okay? I'm going to turn Zach Allen loose. I'm going to send extra from the second level, a guy like Dre Greenlaw, who we know is one of those dudes who pound for pound just packs a wallop. So I think that's what you like. You like the multiplicity, you like the interchangeability of these players, and you just like the fact that Vance now he can open up that entire playbook and say, hey, look, we can defend you in multiple ways, but in crucial moments, we know we have the horses to be able to defend some of the best offenses in the league. A lot of them reside in the AFC. A lot of them reside in his own division.
Yeah.
And that is going to give Broncos country a lot to be happy about and a lot to look forward to. We all know the West is going to be one of the best divisions in football this year, no question about it.
Absolutely. The AFC West is going to be a dogfight each and every week. And Lewis is using very big words like multiplicity and interchangeability. And I think this graphic for getting defensive has a lot of multiplicity and interchangeability as well. I mean, Lewis looks really ready to go. I look like I might be a little person who they stretched out a little bit. And Booger is locked in, and his legs have never been that long. Hey, Booger, did you ever take any type of martial arts? I can see you doing some karate, Booger, a little taekwondo.
Yeah, I did a little bit just for the flexibility. I never was good at hitting people with my hands because my fingers are bad, but I did a little karate for flexibility, man.
Hey, I would love to see Booger side by side with Daniel's son. But up next, there's more Jones dinner conversations that have become public. And once again, they're stirring up more controversy about Micah Parsons and his contract. I want y'all to hear why Lewis thinks drama is the Jones' true family business.